Lincoln and Willie at either the White House, the cemetery in Springfield, or the many train stops, including Zionsville, where the grieving public looked upon their bodies one last time. Interestingly, the most recent sightings of their ghosts have been in Zionsville. Perhaps we may be so lucky. And I think I see him now. Good evening, Mr. President.
Oh, good evening. Hello to everyone. Why are you so far away? We don't have consumption. Not right now, at least. Come forward. Yes, I want to see all your faces. Speaking of faces, you've probably noticed mine. It's white. There's a reason for that. I am dead. I am a ghost. But just because I'm a ghost doesn't mean that I have missed out on all these wonderful conveniences that are in your lives now. Amazing. I've loved it. Cars, airplanes, free checking. Are you kidding me? Microwave popcorn? Oh, and the movies. Wonderful movies. There was a very nice portrayal of me 2 or 3 years ago at the theaters. I don't know if you saw it. Lincoln the Vampire Slayer. Not true. I did not kill that many people with an axe. Not true. Let's talk about my life a little bit. I moved here at the age of 7, lived here till I was 21. Everybody knows that, I'm sure. You learned that in the 4th grade. But did you know that my mother died when I was 9? It wasn't until I was worm food that we realized what the cause of it was. Milk sickness. Apparently our cow got out and foraged around in the woods and ate a plant very common to this area called snake root. Well, the snake root doesn't kill the cow, but it does kill the people who drink its milk. That's how my dear Nancy died. Death is a common theme in my life, as you know, but I never get used to it. Nor have I ever gotten used to my dear little Willie passing at the age of 11 in 1862. Such a comfort to me during the White House years, the Civil War, the travails, and all the stresses that come with the White House. Willie was a constant comfort to me. But there's a special surprise. We might be able to see Willie tonight. We might be, excuse me. I can barely use these things. I don't know about you. Hello? Why isn't he coming? Who is this? Who? Robert!
Yes, Father, it is I. I know you're expecting little Willie. He was a dear little boy.
Why, my son, I've not seen you in years.
Yes, I'm sure it's difficult for you to see your eldest son, Robert Todd Lincoln, whom time and you have forgotten.
Awkward. Why, it is not true, my son. I loved all my boys.
Is that right? What's that there on your lapel, then?
Why, this is a picture of you.
Oh!
Yes,
Oh.
when you were about 11, about when my dear Willie died.
Is that right? Because it bears a striking resemblance to Willie himself. May I take a closer look?
You're fine right where you are.
Well, our patrons probably don't know that I was the only one of your 4 sons to live past the age of 18. Not until the fine age of 82, when I joined you in the great beyond, was I finally spared of history's incessant fawning over your other sons.
I believe it was Walt Whitman who said that it is the lives of those who die at such tender years that are etched most deeply in our souls.
For example?
Teddy Roosevelt's son, the 4th son in my 3 sons, and Jimi Hendrix.
I've never heard of any of these people. Do you know how many times I'm mentioned in the Ken Burns series?
Easy. You're treading on hallowed ground. Ken Burns is a visionary.
I'll tell you 3. That's 42 less than Elijah Hunt Rhodes and 56 less than Mary Chestnut. And she was a bloody Confederate.
You're right, son. We're different. You are your mother's son. You and I, we are of a different constitution.
And that Constitution promises that all people be treated equally, yes?
Well, I think I know a thing or two about the Constitution. And if you check the fine print, there's an exception for parents who have multiple children.
I just want you to be proud of me.
You're right, son. I am proud of you. You are a fine son, a trusted aide to General Grant, and you were there during the surrender at Appomattox.
And so much more happened after your death.
Go on.
I became Chief of War under James A. Garfield, a fine minister to Great Britain, a successful railroad lawyer, and I want you to know that I grieved your passing every day of my life. I know it wasn't hard for you to lose your sons. It's just as hard to lose your dad.
Doggone it, you're making me all misty-eyed.
Up top, Dad. Oh! Oh, that's embarrassing. Decomposing and all, you understand. Oh.
I suppose it's an honor to have you bear witness to this awkward yet heartfelt reunion with my dear oldest son, Robert Todd. We have a lot of catching up to do, perhaps some counseling as well with a few providers. So I wish you a good evening. Be safe. Good night.
Good night.
No blow hit the Lincoln family harder than the death of Willie, who reportedly was his father's favorite and much like him in temperament. Yet older brother Robert's life is often overlooked, even though he lived until 1926 and oversaw his, Mary, and Tad's moving to Chicago after the assassination and the later commitment of Mary Lincoln to a mental institution. Perhaps the death of her third son, Tad, in 1871 was too great a burden to bear. Robert had the dubious distinction of being present during two other presidential assassinations. In 1881, while Secretary of War under the newly inaugurated James A. Garfield, he was at the train station when Charles Gettier shot Garfield, who died of complications from the wound 2 months later. In 1901, Lincoln traveled to Buffalo at the invitation of President William McKinley to attend the Pan-American Exposition. Although he arrived a bit late to the event, Lincoln was on his way to meet McKinley when the anarchist Leon Kolgosz shot the president twice at close range. Afterwards, Lincoln fell out of the public spotlight, saying, "There is a certain fatality about presidential functions when I am president." Yet, in 1922, he was the most cherished guest at the dedication of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. I suspect the president will have much catching up to do with Robert in the afterlife.